if you went to go to Sea of Galilee, there's this beautiful small church that's built on this rock, where tradition says the gospel was happened in that area. We ask ourselves, who was really Saint Peter? Most of us already knew that he was a fisherman, and he had actually done pretty well for himself. He had his own boat, his own nets. He owned also a big house in Capernaum where he lived with his wife and her mother. And close by is the temple. He was a regular guy. He had a regular name, which is Shimon Bar Yonah, or in this present days probably would say Simon Johnson. He was probably a large man, as the statue of St. Peter near to that church built on top of his house. It's a big guy. But he was also known as go-to, or the one you could count on, the one you could lean on. And so Kepha, he was the rock, and his nickname has gone down to us in two forms, Cephas, and also the Greek name Peter. He was a practical man, but he was also known as an adventurer. One day, after an afternoon fishing of Lake Gennesaret, Jesus said to Simon and Andrew, "Come with me, and I will make you fishers of men." And they just dropped everything, and they followed Jesus. And that is amazing because he has a good fishing job. He's a well-to-do guy, and then when the Lord just said, "Come with me," and they just left everything. So there was something else about Simon. He was sometimes an over-the-top sort of guy. Sometimes he just did not quite get it. Many times he just answered whatever that comes out from his mind and heart. So he is also known as a guy that just, or we can say impulsive person. One night when they were on the lake, he saw Jesus walking toward them over the water, and he called out, "Hey, Lord, ask me to come to you." And over the side he went. But then suddenly he became frightened, and so he started to sink. And just before the Lord's final journey to Jerusalem, Peter was with him on Mount Tabor for that glorious vision of Jesus. And going to that mountain is not easy. It's really like a perfect cold mountain. On top right now is the Church of Mount Tabor, where we were able to do Mass. And it's quite a hike for them probably to go on top of that mountain. And he said to Jesus once again, "Do you want me to build 3 tents? One for each of you?" He's referring to Moses and Elijah. So he just says right away whatever he's thinking or whatever he has in his heart. And so into this gospel, Peter is recorded as the first person to realize, to speak the full reality about Jesus. He was the first one to recognize him as prophet, like John the Baptist, or like Elijah and Jeremiah. It was Peter who, on behalf of the 12, said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And so the Lord responded to him, "You are Peter, Kepha, the rock. And on this rock, this Kepha, I will build my church." But then only a little while, or little later, when Jesus explained to the 12 the implication of what had been revealed to them as the Son of God, that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer and be killed, it was too much for Peter. And so he rebuked the Lord. He said, "No way, Lord, this shall not be." So Jesus in turn had to rebuke Peter and said, "Get behind me, you tempter. You are an offense to me. You do not care about the things of God, but only about the things of men." And of course, the Lord is just trying to teach this lesson of humility and service. Says that anyone who will not let Jesus wash his feet was no part of him. And so St. Peter said, "Lord, not just my feet, wash also my head and my hands." So there was nothing subtle about Peter. He had some bad days as well as good days in his travel with Jesus, in his journey. Probably the worst was the 24 hours from sundown, Good Friday, or Holy Thursday to sundown on Good Friday. After supper, they went to the garden, and the Lord told them to watch and pray. But Simon was overcome by sleep. And the Lord once again approached him and said, "Could you not watch me for even an hour?" And the temple guard came with the crowds, and Simon Peter drew his sword and cut off the ear of the high priest in Jerusalem. And Jesus had to tell him to put back his sword. And after the Lord's arrest and lay away, Simon Peter followed to see what would happen to him. But 3 times, when other people identified him as one of Jesus' disciples, he denied the Lord 3 times. So he still didn't get it, even though he said he was the Son of the living God. So it's like us. We go back and forth with our faith. We promise not to do this, and then we forget. We go to the sacrament of confession, and then after a while, we go back to the same old habits. When Mary Magdalene and the other women found the stone rolled away from the door of Jesus' tomb on Easter morning, it was Simon Peter that they reported it. And even though John was faster and got to the tomb first, it was Simon Peter who entered to find burial clothes unfolded and laid aside. And so the real transformation of St. Peter came on Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit descended upon the apostles. It was Peter, as the leader of the apostles, who spoke to the assembled crowd And these crowds were part of the doubter and mockers about the wonderful works of God. And he spoke so forcefully that thousands became followers of Christ the same day. So Peter's subsequent care reveals the power of the Holy Spirit that was on him. In Jerusalem, Peter was one of the leaders of a new Christian community, although it was James and not Peter who was the bishop there. And when the apostles and elders gathered in council to consider the question of whether Gentile converts to Christianity should be required to some of their laws, keep kosher and observe the myriad Jewish ritual laws, Peter was the one who spoke for the council. In fact, although Paul is often called the apostle to the Gentiles, it was Peter who baptized the first recorded Gentile convert to Christianity. That was Cornelius, the centurion of the Italian legion stationed in Caesarea. So Peter really was doing a lot of missionary works for the Gentiles. Peter went to Antioch in Syria, to this major commercial center where he is still revered as the first bishop of that city. And it was in Antioch that the followers of Jesus were first called Christians, as they were followers of Christ, and so they were called Christians in that area. And from there, he apparently went on a missionary journey to Asia Minor, because his first epistle is addressed to the Christians of that region. And finally, he went to Rome, the capital of the empire. Along with Paul, he presided over a large Christian community of both Jewish and Gentile converts. And during the persecution of the church under Emperor Nero, Peter was martyred. In that savage persecution, hundreds of Christians were thrown to the lions and other wild animals in the arena. And you can still see this Colosseum where thousands of Christians were killed. Hundreds of others were wrapped in oil rugs and set afire to provide light for the emperor's dinner's party. That was really terrible. They were burned alive. But Peter was crucified, and his own request, he was hung head downward on the cross, because he felt unworthy to die the same manner as Jesus. If Nero had intended to wipe out Christianity, his plan was a miserable failure. For today in Rome, a great church building stands over the site of Peter's tomb. And you can see that St. Peter's Basilica, a beautiful church. And I'm so I'm glad that in my lifetime I was able to see the tomb of St. Peter and was able to celebrate Mass right there in the front